Hello and welcome to episode number 70 of the Hobbies and Happiness podcast, where we talk all about the hobby that makes us happy, tabletop gaming. I'm one of your hosts, Dan.
And I'm Jim, and today we're going over 3 keys to a successful card game.
All right, we got there. We struggled about how to word it.
Yeah.
Like we know what we're talking about. We know what we want to talk about, but it's like having to figure out exactly how to say it. It's like
3 keys like Keyforge.
Yeah, there we go.
To win.
I didn't even think about that because they had 3 keys.
Yes.
So who we need to talk to is we need to just talk to Richard Garfield.
Yes. One day, Dan.
Hashtag Richard Garfield. Get Richard Garfield on the show.
At Richard Garfield, everyone. Spam him with this. Don't get crazy, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get to the episode, we need to talk about our sponsor, Amazon Audible. Yeah. All right. If you head over to our affiliate link, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness, you can sign up for a free 30-day trial of Amazon Audible, where you can sign up. Once you sign up, you get a free audiobook added to your account. That's right. A free audiobook of your choosing, not just one. It's of your choosing. And what's even better, if you are an Amazon Prime member, you get 2. That's right. 2 free books added to your account that you can use, for anything. So again, sign up today, free 30-day trial. And then if you don't like the service, you can cancel before the end of the 30 days, but you still get to keep those free credits on your account. I actually have quite a few credits on my Amazon account that I need to find some good books to redeem those credits for. And they're still there. They don't go away as long as I have the service.
Can you sell those credits on the blockchain?
No, unfortunately, no, you can't.
One day, Dan.
Yeah. One day. So anyway, head over to our affiliate link, www.audibletrial.com/hobbies and happiness to sign up for your free 30-day trial today. All right. So today's topic,
card of the week. Oh, we're not at that point?
We're not there yet.
Okay.
So today's topic got spurred on by a conversation I had with a community member in the Disney Lorcana HQ Discord. Okay. It seems like a lot of our podcast topics are coming from conversations from there. And I'm here for it, guys. I am absolutely here for it. And I even made a comment. I was like, thank you for the podcast topic. I'm like, I'm going to add it to my long list. And so, what we were talking about was, obviously about Lorcana, right? Mm-hmm. And how we want to succeed and how I'm very excited. I'm hyped, but I'm also trying to maintain composure, a level head and realistic take on it, right? Because again, it's something where I want it to succeed, right? Yeah. And because I want it to succeed, I think that there are certain things that the game should do, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for, right? And so I think the person I was talking to I don't think they had a lot of experience in card games, but they're just, very excited and hyped for it. Yeah. So we were talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And the big 3. And then we got on to a topic of, we were talking about deck building and cracking packs. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about cost, right? And so somebody made the comment about rarities and how, well, there's no rares. Therefore, it was an expensive card. Mm. And so my response was, well, rarities don't dictate cost. Yeah. The rarity itself, right?
Bulk mythics.
Right. I mean, because there are a lot of factors that factor into the cost of a card. We talked either last week, I think it was last week or the week before, we talked about secondary markets on the show, right? And so one thing we touched on a lot in that episode was the metagame, right? Because the market looks heavily at the metagame, and the metagame influences cost of cards, right? And so the metagame does not really care about the rarity of a card. It cares about how many people are playing that card and is it a good card. Yep. And that's kind of a list too. It's because one influences the other, right? How good If the card's good, will dictate how many people are playing the card. If it's a terrible mythic, it's not going to be playable. Like, and that's what you really look at, is you look at the playability of a card.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's more than just looking at a single card, because like it can be good, but if there's no other cards that can synergize well with it, there's not a control deck that can play it good enough, and it's just like, it's a good card, go play it in Commander. It's not good in Modern. It's not good in Standard.
So, you know, we talked about that a little bit, and then, you know, I said, well, the price of a card, or the rarity, does not dictate price. Okay, there are a lot more factors that factor into that itself. And so we got onto the topic of cost, and then we were talking about collectability. Okay, collectability of cards, because again, if you're in the card game space at all, like, you are definitely into the collectability aspect one way or another, right? Either you're forced into it, right? Like, if you enjoy playing the game, you are collecting cards. Period. End of story. You are, like, whether or not you're collecting it for the sake of collecting it itself, right? Or you're collecting the cards to be put in certain decks. You are still collecting the cards. Okay.
100%.
So throughout that conversation, you know, we got onto the topic of like collectability and then playability. And then I was like, dude, there's a perfect podcast topic here. Okay. And so I'm like, thank you for the episode, for the topic idea. And so I really thought, like, everything that we were talking about is what really goes into making a successful card game. And so I've got three things, okay? 3 ingredients, 3 keys. And like, I initially used the word ingredients, right? Yeah. But then I'm like, is it really an ingredient though? Because these 3 things that we're going to talk about it's very difficult to be like, well, I'm just going to throw that in there, and then boom, out pops a successful game, right? Like, it's kind of design choices. There's a lot that goes into it, and you'll see. Okay. But that's what we're going to talk about. Okay. So there's 3 main aspects. The first aspect is arguably the most important. I think it's arguably the most important. Okay. And that's playability. Okay. If you do not have a game that's playable, it will not succeed.
I think Pokemon, when it first came out, kind of got around this.
See, and that's why I said, that's why I said arguably, like, as we get into this, like, this is so, I feel like this is so nuanced. Yeah. It really is.
It's like, even majority of people that collect Pokemon still have no clue how to play it.
Right. And so one of the things too that is like, these different aspects are different but also similar, but they're like all important. Yeah. They really are important, right? But one really doesn't play into the other. Yeah. Each 3 of these are very separate, right?
It is important for a card game.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
But Pokemon's a different monster, because it's just like, they were first coming out as a video game, and then they were like, "Oh, well, you got to catch them all, right?" And then people started liking these monsters. Yeah, more.
You had that massive IP, already.
Yeah.
So that massive IP was already in place, and that's again why we've really leaned heavy into Pokemon when we talk about Lorcana.
Yep.
Because I mean, I feel like the similarities from the games are just so very obvious. Like, not even and let me rephrase that, because again, we don't know anything about the game of Lorcana itself, right? But it's just everything that's already known and around the game makes it seem, and what you just said, right? You know, got to catch them all. It's just that IP is so massive, and already the fan base is already there.
Yep.
Okay.
100%.
So, but again, when we talk about the game itself, okay, so Pokemon, the TCG as a game, okay, I don't think the game would still be around. It's okay. I'm gonna say it. I don't think the TCG would still be around if it was not playable. I really think so.
So why I definitely think it's at least a little bit correct is because there were other cards of Pokemon that were like taking still shots of the movies or of the TV show, and those aren't really even a thing anymore. Those first came out in like early 2000, late 90s, and they kind of just stopped making those sorts of cards.
Okay. Now, are you saying just from the art aspect?
I'm just saying like that specific. So let's say the TCG didn't have a card game, right? It was just making those cards exactly like how they were taking the skill shot or the still frame of the movies or the show, or just showing you the artwork and like a little background, blah, 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 and a description on the back of saying something about it. Those fell off. Those were no longer continued.
I see what you're saying.
And then they continued the TCG.
Yeah, I see.
Could it also have been a thing of, they were like competing with each other? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So,
but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
And also like that was the early 2000s model of TCGs.
Yeah.
Okay. You had all of these IPs making card games. Okay. So like another good one is the Lord of the Rings TCG. Okay. I don't know much about this. However, Team Covenant recently, I think they just finished up a series. Well, they just finished up a series of going through going through some boxes and building decks and playing through it. Okay. And that's kind of how I know about it, is through their content.
I was just remembering their Yu-Gi-Oh! Live stream. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It was great.
Dude, that was great. Watching Zach and Steven play Yu-Gi-Oh! Was just...
Dude, like they were
so great.
They were like on turn 2, and I could tell in their eyes and in how they were speaking, they were just done. They were so done with Yu-Gi-Oh!
You know what? They tried.
I know.
Like they put in the effort and they tried.
Right. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is not a game where two beginners can just go learn to play the game. You need to have someone to teach you that game.
And that's why I think I thought it was fun, was because I had you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that would have been completely different for me.
And they would have enjoyed GOAT format a lot more than they were playing retail. I don't know what you want to call it.
The structure decks, those retail structure decks, basically. Yeah. But anyway, like going back to what we were talking about for Team Covenant, right? Yeah. They were playing the Lord of the Rings TCG. Okay. So, and like there were so many IPs back then, just, you know what? We're going to get in on this and make a card game. And so many of them died. So many. And again, I think because they didn't hit all three of these things. Okay. Like they did not hit all three of these points. And playability, like I'm the type of player where I care as a consumer and as a player, playability is my biggest takeaway. Like that's what I'm looking for the most is the playability. Yeah. I enjoy collecting. I enjoy the foiling, you know how the different cards look, right? But
different variants.
Correct. For me, I'm all about the playability. I love doing the synergies, looking at all different synergies, deck building. The playability is what concerns me as a consumer and as a player the most.
Another form of utility for these cards. Like that is the main utility for these cards.
Correct.
You go look at Beanie Babies, you go look at Precious Moments, you now look at Funko Pops. There's not really like a use for them other than it's just a collectible piece.
Yeah, it's just a collectible. Yeah.
So, and it is very much so a huge part having that playability aspect with these cards. Definitely, I could see the whole thing of arguably the most important.
Yeah. But as I was going through these, I really thought, I was trying to take my opinion and my bias out of it, right? But then looking at how all three of these, they are very different. And they're all three very important. Which is most important depends on who you're talking to in the process. Yeah. If you're talking to a player, they're going to say one thing. If you're talking to someone who just collects the cards or whatever, they're going to say something different. If you're talking to the people making it, well, they're going to say something different based off of kind of what lens they're viewing this thing through. So, but again, like playability is so big. And that's why I don't know if I mentioned it. no, I think I did. But I also view this from playability as also accessibility. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think those two, they go hand in hand a little bit. Okay. If in order for me to be able to play the game, and when I say accessibility, okay, accessibility is one of those not keywords, but it's one of those like words that have been used to mean different things. Okay. I don't mean accessibility from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. However, you could use it in that sense. Okay. When I say accessibility, accessibility was actually one of my entire episode ideas, the term accessibility. Okay. And maybe we'll dive into this deeper in a later episode. But when I say accessibility, what I am meaning is, am I able, when I sit down at the table, am I able to learn this game relatively easily?
Yeah.
Okay. Like if I can't understand how the game works and operates, then I'm not going to play the game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That could also just be the playability, like how easy it is to get into.
And that's why I said they go kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, I think you and I both have played games that are extremely complex.
Yeah.
And like you've got the rule book and you're like, okay, what?
Yeah.
This doesn't make it. No, I still don't get it. You know, like that's happened plenty of times. And so if somebody sits down to play a game and they don't understand how to play it, they're not going to play it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So that's why I say accessibility, and that's why I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So that is the first ingredient or key.
Oh, one thing I was going to add. So like you were just saying, unless like if brand new players go into a game that is very complex, it's going to be rough for them, right? Like we've done this a few times, and it wasn't great. But right, the whole thing of having someone who is very knowledgeable in it, like we were talking about earlier with the Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, right? It was just exact prime example with Team Covenant and with us when you were playing.
Correct.
And there have been multiple times where when I was working at Grapple, there would be new people that came into a game and they'd want to know how to play something. Yeah. And I would go over there. I'm like, oh yeah, I've played this before, but I'm still trying to refresh my memory on it because it's been a little bit since I played it. Kind of have an idea of what it is, but then I started learning that of it's like, okay, well now they're not paying so much attention. And it's the same thing with my family. When I would want to play a game with them, some new game that I thought was fun, I didn't really remember everything. But I started looking for these games that were ridiculously easy to get into, especially if I wasn't there. And since I played it a lot, it was now so much easier to get them in it, and along with it already being basic enough. Yeah. So those are like really key things to be finding in games that you're looking to play.
And honestly, like everything you just said is kind of everything that we want for Hobbies and Happiness, like as a channel and when we open our store. Yeah. Is like we want to be there. We want it to cultivate and develop these communities, not just around one game.
Yeah, no.
Okay. And that's why we have talked in the past about focusing, niching down our content around one specific game. Yeah. Like it's
difficult.
And I understand like there are plenty of creators who do that to much success, to very much success. But I don't think like for us, because again, we're all about the community aspect, right? And yes, you can have a community built around one game, okay? But when you talk about like IRL communities, right? You're not really going to be around one single game. Like even in Magic, like a lot of the Grapple community, for instance, a lot of us were heavily invested and built around the Magic community, okay? But there were so many other communities.
The Yu-Gi-Oh community was pretty big.
Yeah. The Yu-Gi-Oh community, Pokemon community as well. I mean, it wasn't huge. Community. It wasn't huge, but there were still people who came and played. Okay. And again, like as a business owner, right? If I have a shop, right? I don't want two people who come in and play a game feel like they're not welcome. I want them to be able to sit down at a table, enjoy their game, and then grow that community there.
Yeah. Because think about it, right? Like you walk into a store and you're like, oh, hey, me and my friend were new to the area. We've been playing this game. Do you play it? And they're just like, oh, no, I don't.
And
you could have some seats if you want.
And that's where the conversation ends.
And like, that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or if I didn't know about it, I'll be like, oh, I'd love to see what it is.
Absolutely.
Go talk to them, ask questions about certain things, and just have an amazing time learning some stuff you just had no clue about.
Yeah. And that was a big thing for me too. Like when
if you like something from it, you could like, I don't even know, right? Like say at some point we design our own game, right? And it's like this game we've never seen or heard of. They kind of fixed the problem that we've had with these other games. And we're like, oh, now we can add this to it. Yeah. Or you could then be like, oh, I know Brady would love this game. I know Noah would love this game, and then show them the game.
Right.
So
and they go to their parts of the community, right?
Yeah,
and they get their friends like, oh, dude, check this out, and then they grow their friend base or their other community as well. Yeah. It's just, because everything just revolves around kindness and community.
Yeah.
Right. It really does. And that was my big thing. Like when I would go into these stores and like, I was like a good example, Star Wars Destiny, right?
Yeah.
When I was first getting to this, Star Wars Destiny was a thing and then it died shortly thereafter. Right. Yeah. I'd have conversations asking people, these owners or these people in the store who are working questions. Oh, nah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like that's it. All right, sounds good. Like,
oh, you guys don't sell any of it? Oh, we got a box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you gotta keep going. Like get more information. Be like, oh no, I've never heard of this. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway,
you can't know everything.
No.
But you can definitely start learning about
right.
At least even a little bit of all this stuff in your
that also doesn't mean like you're trying to be a jack of all trades. Like you can still specialize in a thing, like for sure, but doesn't mean you should shut everything else out.
Yeah,
it's a fine line. There's definitely nuance there for sure.
Yeah,
but that's just at least our point of view and our standpoint. So, all right. Well, the next key is collectability. We've talked about this a little bit already, but especially in these TCGs and CCGs, it's literally part of the name, right? Collectability, the game needs to be collectible.
Yeah.
I think if you are making a card game that is not collectible, you are, I don't want to say doomed to fail because that's not necessarily true. Okay. Yeah. It's not. But I think you are going to make it harder for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. As a publisher, as a designer, I think you are going to make it a little bit harder for yourself. Now, I know that there are designers who specifically chose a different model. For example, Ashes Reborn, believe the creator Isaac Vega. Okay. Yeah. Specifically talked about how he did not want to make a collectible card game because when he was younger, he remembers not being able to afford packs or whatever the case may be. And so he didn't want his players to have to go through that. So he specifically made the choice of making it an expandable card game. Okay. Yeah. So like, and I can respect and understand when there are creators who specifically make those choices for their game. Okay. Yeah. However, multiple things can be true at the same time. Okay. I also think that when you're talking about the card game market, the minute you say it's not a TCG and it's not a CCG, people are already getting a different thought and view in their mind beforehand. They've already been like, all right, well then now I'm thinking about this completely differently. Okay, for better or for worse. Like I think that's just the reality of the market. It really is. Unfortunate, fortunate, good, bad, whatever. It's the reality.
It takes a part kind of some of my favorite stuff about these card games.
Correct. Because once you say it is not collectible, I mean, that means a lot. That means actually multiple different things. Okay. So number one, okay, if you're saying it's not collectible, okay, it goes from a TCG or a CCG to now an expandable card game or a living card game. Okay. Main difference, and we've talked about this plenty of times before, right? With these TCGs and CCGs, it's you are gambling. You are buying a booster pack, okay? And
that's not my favorite part. It's not the gambling.
No, yeah, right. But again, the reality, okay, is you kind of are, right? Because it's the booster pack.
It's
right?
definitely gambling.
It's it is, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So you're cracking packs, seeing what you pull, okay? And honestly, and people don't crack packs like for gambling. They just, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? And most of the time they're happy with what they get, right? Oh, really? Well, okay. I should not say that.
Like, what are you talking about?
I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't say that. But what I'm saying, I think what I was trying to say was it's just the joy of cracking packs.
Yeah.
It really is.
Regardless, you get something to where it's like, oh, I just got literally nothing by doing a spin on a slot machine.
Or like when you went to Vegas, you did the roulette wheel.
Yeah, I put $11 on black on roulette and I lost it all. I lost so much money, $11.
Okay, so again, if you take away the collectability, it is now an expandable card game.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only way to do it. Okay. If you're saying it is not collectible, then what you're doing is, okay, then you should be able to buy X amount of products. And when you buy X amount of products, you have every single card. Okay. Yeah. As far as I know, those are the only models, the booster model and an expandable card game model. Yes. Those are the only models that I'm aware of.
It's either packs where you don't know what you're getting or you get everything out of the pack. Or
the box or whatever.
Yeah, that's whatever it is.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any other really way to do it. Okay. So when you completely remove the collectability aspect, the other key / ingredient we're going to talk about is also kind of limited as well. Okay. And we'll talk about it a little bit later. Okay. But if you remove, and when I say, okay, because I'm going to talk about some other aspects of collectability here in a second. Okay. But when I say collectability now, what I'm referring to is kind of rarities. Okay. And you're more likely to see commons and uncommons more than you are to see rares and mythics or whatever the rarity level is.
In a standard Magic pack, it's like either 9 or 10 commons, 3 uncommons, and
then
a rare.
1 rare and then a token. One rare / mythic and a token.
And then if it's 9 commons, and then you get a foil card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. You get another, right. One of those is a foil.
Yeah.
It could be any rarity.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's just a foil card that takes place.
No, I've gotten, and these were not in collector's packs either.
Okay.
It's always a nice feeling when you open a pack. Okay. You go through all your commons, get all your commons, uncommons, you get a mythic, and then you get a rare foil.
Yeah.
So I thought what you were saying was the foil would just be a common foil.
No, it replaces the common slot.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. Gotcha.
Yeah, it can be anything, but it replaces the common slot.
Right. But it's always it's such a nice feeling when you get like a mythic, like you get 2 mythics or 2 rares or whatever.
Oh yeah, it's great.
It's so nice. It's so great. Yeah. Value. Talk about value, right?
It's free
value. What are you talking about? You just open in packs, man.
These packs have value.
Yeah. All right. So if you remove the rarity system, okay, that is one way of removing collectability. Okay. Because one of the things that in the conversation I was referencing at the beginning of the episode, one of the comments that was made was, well, what if you just remove all the rarities and just make everything uncommon? Like, I mean, okay, you do that, it's now an expandable card game, essentially.
Essentially, yeah.
Essentially, right?
You're just giving yourself higher chance to now be getting whatever that mythic rare is, or the rare.
Right. There, again, I want to also again mention that this conversation like about collectability is kind of very nuanced because there's a lot of different aspects. Okay, so we're just now talking about like the collectability of the rarity level.
Yeah.
Right, and the rarity level doesn't mean it's a good or a bad card. Okay, there can be and there's plenty of bulk mythics that are just unplayable cards that are just very bad. Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple of commons and uncommons that are more money than a lot of mythics.
Correct.
And a lot of rares.
And somebody in that conversation, somebody was asking about the cost of a common. I'm like, dude, there's commons that are like $4 or $5.
Yeah.
Because
It's
they're
like
just played in every deck.
It's like every lightning bolt is like $2 at least.
Yep.
And that's
and it's been printed how many times?
so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
So many times.
Right. So yeah. I think these card games have to be collectible in one sense or another. Okay. And I think the most important form of collectability is the rarity system in one way or another. There are cards that need to be more rare than other cards. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, this is all going to play into the last point. Okay. But the other thing, and I would be absolutely remiss if we did not talk about this, but the different types of cards, okay? The alternate arts, the holofoils, the secret layers, the collector's sets, the full arts, okay?
Secret layers are different, Dan. Come on.
They are, but they're still alternate arts.
Yeah, sure. 100%. It is different arts.
So, okay, but what do you mean when you said they're different?
I was meaning
cash grabs?
Yeah, like, come on. That's not like opening a pack or...
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's not.
But that's still where my mind was.
Yeah, it still is just a alternate art version of a card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a premium product that if you want to pay the money, you can get it.
Yeah.
Okay. And people complain about them, but they still buy them all the time.
Still buy them.
They still buy them. Like I don't, for the life of me, I've bought a few secret layers because I thought the cards looked really cool.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to get it.
Yeah.
Or
Same.
I just buy the single on the secondary market.
Yep.
Because I only want the one card.
Yep.
Like when I was building my modern deck, okay, I got the secret layer Primeval Titans.
Ah, yes.
I got a full play set. I'm like, I want those ones in the deck. And I did.
There's only one secret layer I got into. That was the fetches.
Oh yeah.
But a full place.
Yeah. I got the Bob Ross arts, the lands. Those were nice.
I also like the full text.
Oh, the
lands.
full text ones? Yes.
Yeah, those are super
those are
cool.
So cool.
They like
Very
explain what tapping is and like the color and whatnot.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So secret layers are 100% an alternate art version of a card.
Yeah.
Okay. Now it is also, is it a cash grab by Wizards of the Coast? Absolutely, 100%.
Single or the secondary market for singles.
They are
100%.
But again, Wizards. Okay, you can talk bad about Wizards all you want. They clearly know what they're doing. They clearly know what they're doing.
What's that new like mystery pack thing they did at Magic 30?
What, $250 booster
and they were
packs?
like, you can get a Black Lotus pulled in here, but it's like a collector's edition one with the gold border around it. So it's not playable in anything.
Playable, yeah.
But you can have it.
Dude, you know what? I also want to know how did they make this work legally? Because they reprinted reserveless cards.
Yeah, they did.
So
but you can't play them.
Right, like that must be how they got around it.
You still have to have the originals to play them in vintage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's how they got around it.
I believe so.
Because there's been, the people who collect those cards, like it or not, reserve list is not going anywhere legally, because again, it's a legal thing.
Yeah.
Now, could it? It could.
I looked a little bit more into it, and it was like it kind of comes down to the judge at that point. If like them saying that is like a
because my understanding is Wizards of the Coast
contract agreement. Essentially,
my understanding is Wizards of the Coast essentially made a promise, and they said we're not going to reprint these cards. Because of that promise, is one of the reasons these cards are valued at where they are. And so if they break that promise, the value of those cards goes from here, boom,
real fast.
And the people who own them will lose a ton of money.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
but
here's the thing. No, but here's the thing though. They're not going to lose the money because it's not going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Not appreciated, but not realized. Because if they don't sell it, that's when the value gets realized.
Oh, right. So just don't get rid of your cards.
Yeah.
You don't lose
but again,
value.
But again, if you bought these cards by opening packs back in the 90s, you didn't spend thousands of dollars on them, right? No. You just got
Except most of the time,
lucky.
Those aren't the people that are still holding on to or have these cards right now. I would say most of them.
Yeah,
they sold throughout the years,
and
the people holding them now are the ones who bought
them. At exorbitant amounts, for sure. No, I gotcha. Yeah. But all I'm saying is your value is not realized until you sell the thing you're looking to sell. Like that's the point your value is realized.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything in between is hypothetical, essentially.
Yeah. It's all negotiable at that point, right?
right.
Everything's negotiable.
Right. So, but okay. So all of these different arts, like when I was having that conversation, right? Somebody was saying like, 16 different holofoil versions of the cards. I'm like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, I think it's a good thing. And they're like, no, it dilutes the market. I'm like, no, they just said dilution. I'm like, you're not really diluting. I mean, if anything, I'm like, it's not dilution. Like, I don't know what we're diluting.
I'm like,
if you have different versions, like different art versions of the same card, I mean, I don't think that's diluting anything.
Yeah, no, because it's at that point, right? Like the people who will take any of them, right, will go with the cheapest copy of it.
Correct.
But like we can look at I don't want to say Lightning Bolt specifically. Well, I mean, there's a lot of copies of Lightning Bolt, and it's still like $2 per copy, which isn't a lot of money.
Right.
But there are copies out there that are a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And if you had a printing of a card, but every single printing of it was a completely different variant, like completely different artwork, or if it was foil or full art, whatever it is, like those, whatever the cheapest one is still going to be expensive unless there's like some crazy thing with the card that just made the artwork so much better.
Yeah, well, let's look at the Lorcana cards, right? Those D23 cards, are those going to be reprinted? Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Okay. They're not going to be reprinted in that way. It's not going to have a D23 stamp. It's not going to have that foiling process. Okay. But those are variants of the cards. Now, I don't think the value of those cards is not going to be, I'm saying it right now, the value of the D23 cards
as a whole
and individually.
Okay.
And individually. I don't think those values are going to I don't think they're going to decrease based on how they perform in the game. Okay? Because again, they are collector's pieces. They are game pieces, but those cards in particular are going to be used. The utility of those cards are going to be collector's pieces, not game pieces. So because of that is why I think the value of the D23 cards is not going to be dependent upon their performance in the game and how the game functions.
If we're saying individually, I would think it would go down, because why I'm saying is like what's the Mickey one's the most expensive?
I think so.
Like
I think
couple grand or something.
I think so.
So like if that turns out to be like the weakest one of the bunch, from it being the most expensive, I could definitely see it going down. Sure, the whole thing,
like, I can
not
see
by a
it.
lot. I don't think it's going to be like, oh, it's $2,000 now, it's down to like $50.
Yeah.
Right. Like I don't see that happening as a general rule for all of these cards as a whole. I definitely think that the meta for them won't adjust the price as a whole.
Yeah.
But individual cards,
you're saying
I
as
could definitely see a drop.
As a set?
Yeah.
As a set? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense, because again, at that point you are looking at different they're different. Like either like if
Yeah.
you're looking at it as a set or individually, that's
Yeah.
a very different thing you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, because again, collectors are looking at full sets.
Yeah.
If there's
Well,
a
if you
set
have
to
one
be
of
had,
everything,
if there's a set to be had, they want the full set.
yeah.
Okay. So I mean, yeah, from that standpoint, the value of the set will not significantly decrease based on the meta.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We will see. I really don't think the meta is gonna.
Speculation.
I don't think the meta is gonna have much to do with the prices of the D23 cards. And again, the reason I say that is, like I mentioned, I think they are collector's pieces. They're collector's pieces more than they're game pieces, I should say.
I do think
And that's how I think they're going to be viewed.
I do think if they are more meta, though, I could definitely see those cards being up because there are people that want to get max rarity on their cards. For Yu-Gi-Oh, that is a huge thing
for sure. Yeah, no,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
I gotcha.
So max rarity hunters, like if the card's good, they're going to get those cards.
Yeah, if you're building a deck and you want to bling it out, because that's what they say basically is they want to bling out their deck. They want the rarest form of that card that's available on the market in their deck.
So I would definitely say, meta will define some of these card prices.
That's true. And dude, like that point just goes to show you that this conversation there's so many different aspects that you can talk about. Yeah. So and again, and that is going to depend upon the player base. Yeah. And like what kind of players are playing Lorcana. Yeah. So that's what's going to drive that standpoint.
For Yu-Gi-Oh, it's a bit different than for Magic, right? Because like aside from variants, you have non-foil and then you have foil. Yeah. Right? For Yu-Gi-Oh, you have common, rare, which just gives you shiny letters on the name, right? The rest of the card isn't foiled at all. Okay. Then super rare, the name of the card is just in basic black text, and the photo of the card is foil. You go to ultra rare, well, now you have gold foiling letters and foiling on the card. You also then have gold foiling cards, which gives you a trim that's gold, secret rare, ultimate rare, ghost rare. So you have all of these different kind of cards for it. You could play it at all common rarity, but sometimes you want to bling out your deck.
Now in Yu-Gi-Oh, there are rarities of the cards themselves, right? Not the rarities, not just the foiling or the level of the foiling of the card.
So that pretty much defines like the rarity of the card. Okay. So, but a card can be printed in every single one of those.
Right.
So yeah. Okay. Kind of like how Magic could make a card that was uncommon and then print it as a common, so that way it's playable in Pauper.
Gotcha.
So which they tend to do every now and again.
Yeah. Right. So I want to ask you, like, having all of these, like, what? I mean, again, we look at Magic because I think Magic is the game that does this the most. Well, I mean, Pokemon does too. Okay, but having all of these different types of printings, the different art versions, the variants, the different foiling, when you look at Pokemon, all these different holo foils, is that good for the TCG in question? Is having all of those different variants of the cards, is that a good thing? I mean, the question is, like, for the health of the game, like, is that a good thing for the game itself?
So I think for Pokemon, it's a bit different because they're using the same monster for these multiple different things, but the effects are also then different.
But that's not what I'm asking. Okay. That's actually not what I'm asking. Okay. I'm asking, it's the same card, just printed in different versions. Oh, okay. Different arts, different full arts, game? Collectors. Yeah, the game like the game as a whole. The game, the product, I should say, is probably a better way to.
I'd say so, because when you have like these lottery cards or cards you're trying to go hunt for and opening these packs, and like that kind of also then just adds to the secondary market of there's now more packs being opened.
I agree.
So yeah, I'd say it's good.
I absolutely agree. I think it was last week or the week before we were talking about like hype, okay? Yeah. And how like, and I did say like hype can be good or bad, but hype in and of itself, like it means excitement. Yeah. So like I don't know, like can hype be bad? I mean like by itself, I don't think, maybe it can't be bad. Like
I think it can be.
So okay. Explain.
So
Because I thought because I heard myself say that, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, can it be though?
I think it can be, because it's not, it is definitely an excitement level, right?
Sure.
And one thing I've learned from MMOs, I've been playing them for a bunch of years, and I'm always super hyped when a new one comes out.
Yeah, right.
But if the game can't live up to that hype level, if so many people are causing it to be up here, but the game's down here, people are like, what's going on? This game's terrible. It's not what you promised us, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So I can definitely see it being a detriment to games sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, so, because like, in and of itself, like hype will like means you're expecting a certain level, okay?
Yeah.
And so if the hype is so high on a product and the game itself doesn't live up to it, like the marketing team basically, because let's be honest, I think the marketing team are the driving forces behind hype for the most part, right? Yeah. Typically, not all the time, but typically, okay?
Community has a lot to do with it.
Well, yeah, right, for sure. And so if all this hype is being generated before a game's release, okay, and this is partly why I'm trying to maintain a level head when it comes to Lorcana, right? Because I am excited, but I don't want the hype for everyone to be here, and then the game is even like here, right? But just it doesn't reach it, because if the game doesn't reach that level, then I think it's going to be widely considered a failure. Yeah. I'm not talking about specifically Lorcana. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing about it is, right, like why say your hype level wants you to be up here, right, but you're kind of trying to be level-headed, relaxed with it, trying to really think about it. It's so much more tiring to have that excitement level for a long period of time. Right. And we're still a year away from being able to have this game. There's no way you're going to be able to maintain
that level.
This high level of excitement for it when we're so far away.
Correct. Absolutely.
You know, just like take it easy. Just wait till they give us more information. You know, be happy with it. Yeah. Still keep living life. And continuing forward.
That's why it's always nice to, like, when the first time you find out about a game, and then it's like, yeah, you'll have it next month. It's like, what? I mean, because that's happened. That's happened plenty of times before. Yeah. Especially in the video game world, right? Then that's usually PCs. That's not AAA games. It's usually not AAA games. AAA titles.
I've been following this MMO for 5 years.
Yeah.
And so many people super excited about it. And I definitely was like super stoked for when it came out. And I'm really excited for it. Yeah. But I also know that, okay, even if the game is just okay, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't need it to be some crazy outlandish game that is going to completely take over my life and ruin it. I'm like, I don't want that to happen. Right. I like where I'm at.
Right. So going back to the question I asked you, you know, and we forgot the question was, is having all these different versions of the same card good or bad for the game?
I think it's good.
Okay. I agree. I'm right there, because one thing that you said, okay, is the hunt. Okay. Yeah. The hunt for these cards it's also hype. Right. Like, as I'm hunting, searching for these cards, like once I find it, then I'm just like, oh, like when I found the secret layers for Primeval Titan, I was very happy. Yeah. And like the most recent Modern Horizon set, they did the bounce lands. Yeah. They had the full art bounce lands. You better believe I got play sets of all those. Right. And I was like, my deck looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. And I was very happy. Yeah. Okay. So I'm right there with you. Like, I agree. Mm-hmm. I think it's a good thing for the game as a whole and the product. Mm-hmm. I think whether or not you think these are cash grabs, because some of them definitely are. Okay. But again,
aren't all businesses cash grabs? Like,
yeah, exactly. like that's what they're there for.
They need money to survive.
And that leads into the third key ingredient. So we've talked about playability, we've talked about collectability, and then the third one is profitability. Yes. Okay, if you have a game that's playable and that's also somewhat collectible, but the people making the game are losing money, do you think that game is going to be around for much longer? No.
Nope.
Because they're not making money.
Yeah. They can't keep making more products.
Correct.
They can't keep paying people for more artwork. They can't keep paying the balance team to keep working on stuff. There's nothing they can do.
For good or bad, you have these games have to be profitable for the people making the games.
Yeah.
Period. They have to. Yeah. Because if they're not, you're not going to get your game.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
And so and again, that is why, you know, we've talked about board games and card games and like the big differences, right? But with these board games, it's an experience in a box, and it's a one-time thing. And what I mean by that is it's all contained in that one box. You buy it the one time and then you're done.
Yep.
But with these card games, it's a completely different thing. Right? Because you buy your cards, you buy your packs. But if you want the game to continue to flourish and grow, they need to keep making more cards, which means you need to give them more money. And so it's a very different thing. Like the people who make the board game, if that company, like if you enjoy that one game, you don't care if that company goes out of business or not. I'm not meaning to say like you really don't care, but because you have that game, that's it. Like you have that experience. You can play that game for the rest of eternity. And whether or not the company goes out of business does nothing for you in your enjoyment of the game. You just need to have, you know, your family or your group, whoever you play with, and then you're done. Like you're good to go. Okay. Yeah. But with card games, competitive card games specifically, it's a completely different thing. So we talked about, like when we were talking about collectability, we were talking about profitability, like unintentionally, intentionally, whatever.
Yeah.
Like they got to be profitable. I mean, but I feel like sometimes when I point that out, like people don't like it. It's like, dude, it's a reality, man. Like I understand, like Wizards of the Coast. I understand Wizards of the Coast doing these secret layers, being a cash grab. Like I get it. Yeah. But bro, they gotta make money. Their shareholders need money. Yeah. They want to they want to make more money.
Not to mention, like the people that like those cards, they might even just want a new variant of their card to just now add into their deck.
Correct.
Right. So it's 100% them getting into the secondary market and benefiting off of that. But it's also if it was a bad product, right, no one would be buying it. So there's definitely people out there that are glad they're doing this.
For sure. So I've got two different groups of people written down here for under this. Okay. So I've got profitability for the designer, the creator / publisher. Okay. They're the ones making the game, right? But also there's another group of people that I think are just as much invested into this, and they're viewing it from the angle of profitability, are other investors. Yeah. People investing into the card game themselves because they want to make money. Yep. And that's another group of people where, again, you have a lot of players who are like, I don't like you in my game because you are affecting the prices of these cards, right? But again, it's if they pour money into it, you know, then the creators, they're seeing money. It's the world runs on money. Yep. Businesses run on money, you know, and like, I'm sorry, but like it's true. It really is true. Yep. And so that's where that's the rub. That really is the rub. It really, really is, you know, if you are trying to design a game and, you know, you're saying, and that's, I talk about Ashes Reborn earlier.
The fact that this is a spicy take is so weird to me.
Right? But again, like I mentioned Ashes Reborn earlier, right? And Isaac Vega, okay? Yeah. I very much respect his stance and why he designed his game. You know, we've got it. The box is over here. All the cards are over there, right? Yep. It's a very fun game. We really like that game, okay?
Yeah, it's really cool.
But I think if you design a game like that, it's harder. It's not impossible. I just think it's harder to see a lot of profits come in the card game space specifically.
The thing with it, right? Like earlier, you said Ashes Reborn.
Yeah.
They originally had Ashes Rise of the Phoenixborn, and this is the exact same game, but Rise of the Phoenixborn stopped. I don't know exactly what happened, but they stopped making the game.
Now that was that a TCG or was that
That's the exact same thing.
It was the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if they turned it from a TCG into a
Rise of the Phoenixborn is the exact same thing as Ashes Reborn.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
So it was like
it was a game that died and then got brought back to life.
It was a game that died and now it's reborn.
Because I don't want to say because of Team Covenant, but Team Covenant definitely had a hand in helping it be born again.
Yeah. So like, yes, like he had this way of it, but for whatever reason, maybe it just wasn't profitable. And if that was a really big case, well then you can't continue the game unless you now know that there is more people who want to be playing it and they want you to bring it back.
And that's what Team Covenant did was like they got they were like, look, if you want to see this game come back, you need to sign up for like a pre-order or something, and then
their subscription.
It was their subscription service, but like if we got so many people to sign up for it, that's the threshold they needed to basically make enough money to where they'll see that it's profitable essentially. Yeah. So I mean, it's a perfect example, right, of exactly what we're talking about. Now, again, that game is playable. There's no collectability aspect to that game. There's not a single one. I mean, I shouldn't say that because when they come out with new product, it's just they've got more packs.
Yeah,
because you can buy the base set, and then have all the cards in the base set. But if you want the newer heroes or Phoenixborn, and the newer cards, you just buy the new packs.
So like the new set that drops, go buy it.
Correct.
So it's
correct.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's a little.
It's not really.
It's a little.
It's still not.
A little. All right. So before we move on, do you have any final thoughts about either three of these points that you kind of want to touch on?
I don't think so. I think I kind of threw in everything I wanted to.
Okay. All right. So again, let's recapping our 3 ingredients for a successful TCG. I mean, I think it's a successful card game. I really do think it's a successful card game because even these expandable games, if they're not having those 3, I think that's why a lot of expandable ones die, or have died in the past, I should say.
Right.
The first one, we've got playability / accessibility, the slash there. The second is collectability, and again, collectability can take many forms.
I found out what the collectability in these living card games is.
Sure.
When it's on Kickstarter, they have the Kickstarter exclusives. There it is. That's all I got.
But honestly, that's why these people go on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Like that's.
And people get upset that
I know, dude. Oh,
they get upset that it's there.
I can't, man. Why do you think they do it? Because they know people are going to buy it, and so they're going to make more money.
Yeah. They also get an idea of how much they need to be making.
Correct.
As well.
Correct.
That is another.
It gives backers an incentive.
Yeah.
Like
if it's like an indie company, essentially some startup, like it's really good to be getting that.
It is.
When it's a AAA name that's just going on there, it's like, all right, sure, because they're like, oh, we destroyed our Kickstarter goal. It's like, all right, you kind of knew you were going to destroy your Kickstarter goal. Let's be honest.
But again, we like what was it? DC deck building game Cryptozoic.
Yeah.
Okay. They also do it for the hype factor too.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I don't begrudge any company who rides these, who takes advantage of these. Like I don't.
Have you seen the ones where it's like we destroyed our goal in less than 1 minute?
Yeah.
It's like, come on, that means why are you here? But it doesn't matter to me.
But I also helped you do that.
Yeah, true.
All right. So playability, we've got collectability, and then the last one is profitability.
Yeah.
question of the day, what do you think? Do you agree with our 3? Do you think there are any other ingredients that are necessary for
there's more
for a successful card game? But honestly, I think they all are going to boil down to these 3.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to think that, and I'm like, I really think if you come up with another one, it's going to fall under one of these 3 categories. Yeah. I really, really do. And like I said, these are 3 distinct categories, but they all work together.
Yep.
And again, depending on your input into this game, right, you're going to think, like I said, as a consumer, as a player, I think playability is going to be the most important thing that I am looking for. Mm-hmm. If you're a collector, then you're going to look at the collectability aspect.
Yep.
Okay. Excuse me. Wow. But if you are a designer and you're the one making it, you're looking at profitability.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if people aren't buying it, well, why aren't people buying it? Is it because they can't collect? Is it because they can't play? Why is it not profitable?
Is it a bad game?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah. So again, I think it's one of these 3 things. So let us know if you've gotten ideas. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. And if you're listening, shoot us an email. Let's get the conversation started. If you've got other ideas, we'd love to know. So, all right. What does that lead us into, Jim? What do we talk about?
Yes. Finally, after 3,000 years, I'm awake. The card of the week.
It's the card of the week. It's Jim. So we are talking about a Magic the Gathering card this week. Yes. It's from Jim's favorite color.
But it is actually, this is a card I really like.
Yes.
Because it's for my favorite color.
Because it's a great card.
It's a good card.
The card is Tireless Tracker.
Yeah.
So Tireless Tracker is from Shadows over Innistrad. Yeah. All right. It's a 3-drop, 2 and a green. Creature, human, scout, a 3/2. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, investigate. So in order to investigate, you put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield you pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card.
But then there's more.
So right, because that alone is a great
That's
effect.
A great effect.
That's a great effect. But he also, or she also has, whenever you sacrifice a clue, put a +1/+1 counter on Tireless Tracker.
Big.
You can get this Tireless Tracker massive.
Dude, it's so good. When you play this on turn 4 and you're like, now I'm going to drop a fetch land. Go get that clue. Crack this fetch land.
Yep.
Either on your opponent's turn or your turn. And you now have 2 clues with 4 mana up. And now you can tap 2 to break a clue, 2 to break a clue. Dude. And now you're sitting at a solid 5/4.
That's crazy, man. It's so good. So I use this.
Draw 2 cards.
I use this card in my Lands Matter deck for a commander.
Makes sense.
Like if you play any sort of Lands Matter synergies in your decks, if you're not running Tireless Tracker, you're wrong. You are wrong. It's such a good card.
So good.
I mean, it has most Lands Matter decks are doing some form of landfall synergies, landfall triggers. Okay, and this is a landfall trigger. Okay, but again, getting counters and drawing cards. Like, what more do you want?
Yeah,
like. That's literally what my entire deck is doing. Is just all about counters, tokens. It's so good. Like, this card is just, it can get out of hand real quick.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because you're always playing lands. Mm-hmm. You're always playing lands.
So there is definitely sometimes, if you're playing a Lands Matter, you could have 0 lands in your deck at some point in the game.
That's true.
And if this is just chilling out on the board and you're like, I got 20 clues, but I also have like 30 mana.
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, well, I'm going to be able to draw like at least half of my deck now.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, that's a lot of value on stuff, especially since you can do it instant speed, go into your turn, crack all those things, draw your entire deck, and then just play whatever it is you need.
So there's so many amazing synergies you can have with this card.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So many. Okay. Here's a couple of my favorites. I'm just going to give you 2 of my favorites. Okay.
All right.
Any fetch land. Okay. Any fetch land, right? But number 1 is Doubling Season. Okay. Doubling Season because landfall, you get 2 clues.
Yeah.
And when you crack a clue, you get 2 +1/+1 counters.
Ooh,
That's why it's so
yeah,
it's got one of the best ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Plus Ancient Green Warden. Ancient Green Warden, okay, basically doubles up your landfall triggers.
Okay.
And you can play lands out of your graveyard.
Oh, man. Okay.
I want to make sure I'm telling you the truth here.
You know, a card I also like with this, Renin 6.
Oh,
Go get land back from your graveyard.
oh, dude.
Fetch, get 2 more clues. Do it again next turn. Fetch, get 2 more clues.
Renin 6 is one when that came out in Modern Horizons. I made sure to get one specifically for my lands commander deck.
Good.
Yeah, so Ancient Green Warden is a 6-drop, 5/7, 4 and 2 green. Okay, it's an elemental with reach.
Yep.
You may play lands from your graveyard. Okay, which is already Crucible of Worlds effect.
Yep.
Amazing. But if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Oh. So Ancient Green Warden plus Doubling Season, 1 land gets you 4 clues.
Okay.
Yeah, green turns out is bust. Green can do some pretty stupid things.
Yeah. Who would have thought?
Yeah, right.
Who would have thought?
So, yeah.
You know, blue can do is, I could say no.
Yes, that's very true.
I could say, well, green actually has a lot of cards that are like, well, you can't say no. Mm-hmm. Can't tell me no for my creatures.
That's the one thing, like, my deck is, it's Jund. Yeah. It's just, it's no blue. I'm like,
yeah.
I really wish it was like Simic or something, or, you know, right. Band. Just
imagine
give me
Soul Tie.
Oh,
Soul Tie.
Yeah. Yeah. But, needless to say, I'm playing like Windgrace, so like I want the Jund, need the Jund colors. So yeah, Tireless Tracker is a great card. Love this card. So all right, that is this week's card of the week. Jim, what do you think of Tireless Tracker?
Ooh, it's probably I would say it's in my top 5 favorite green cards.
Really? What's your number one? What's your number one favorite green card? Did you go ahead?
I was gonna say, are we counting hybrid colors or is it mono green?
Mono green.
Mono green, probably Goyf.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Probably Goyf.
That makes sense. Yeah, Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf's pretty good. Pretty good. So
the one Hydra boy's in there, your Hydra dude. I forget.
Oh, Gargos.
Yeah, Gargos is in that list.
Yes.
He's a monster.
Yes, I love Gargos. I need to play that deck soon. So, all right. Well, that's all we got for you guys this week. I enjoyed this episode. I really enjoyed this topic. And I think this is a conversation that I really like having with anyone in the card game community because I like to get other people's takes. But honestly, I think I'm right. Like, I think really I think these really are it. I think these are the 3 things that every card game needs to look at and kind of needs to make sure they have in their game somehow in order for them to be successful. You look at the big 3, you look at Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Magic, and I think they check off each of those boxes in one way or another.
Yeah, I'm like trying to go back and think about some of the old card games that were out there of like the original Dragon Ball Z card game and Digimon. It's like those weren't like playable at all. And like it had some collectability to it.
Yeah.
But those weren't playable at all. And like apparently the profit for it wasn't good at all. So then like they kind of just fell off the face of the earth.
And it's probably because they weren't playable. Like profitability is that thing that you can look at the why in so many different ways, so many different terms. Yeah. So, but anyway, thanks everybody for being here. I really enjoyed this week's episode. If you've got thoughts and ideas, be sure to shoot us an email, hobbiesandhappiness@gmail.com. But you know what, Jim? Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram at Jim Morgan HNH.
You guys can find me on Instagram at Daniel.g.campbell and on Twitter at _DGCampbell. If you head over to our website, www.hobbiesandhappiness.com, you can find links to all of our social content there. Find links to pretty much everything, YouTube, We've got everything pretty much posted there. And I do need to update our website. However, you can still find links to all of our content at our website. So again, thanks everybody for being here. Looking forward to next week's episode. And guys, I'm really enjoying all these topics that we're talking about on the podcast. Been having a blast over the last few weeks, just talking about all these different topics and really honestly relating everything to Disney Lorcana in one way or another. So I really like looking forward to a game and then just having all of these topics and just kind of talking about it in that sense of what can this game do to emulate a thing, for example. So if you can't tell, looking forward to Lorcana. But again, thanks everybody for being here. We will catch you in the next episode. See you, everybody.
Take care.